All right, welcome to this Board Docs subscriber webinar series. Today's topic is finding solutions with Board Docs for your school board with ASBA. And today we're going to be featuring Board Docs subscriber Cottonwood Oak Creek School District in Arizona. And I'm going to be joined by Trisha Winters. Trish, good to have you today. Trish is the executive assistant to the superintendent and governing body secretary at the Cottonwood Oak Creek School District in Arizona. Trish, wonderful having you. It's good to be on the webinar stage with you once again.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. As you know, in education, maximizing our operational efficiencies is really key. And I think a big piece of that is collaboration. So if I can share something today with all of you that helps your districts in a way to become a little more efficient, that will make me really happy.
Oh, I know you will. You use the system so well. So great best practices you'll be sharing today. And for everyone, my name is Tom Duncan. I'm with Board Docs, and I will be moderating today. Great. We're going to first start off doing a quick overview of who Board Docs is. Trish is just then going to give us some information about the school district there. Then we're going to dig into a better understanding of some of the best practices, adoptability, some features and benefits that really have done well for the district and Tricia there as a user of Board Docs. So we'll go ahead and get started. Board Docs is an advanced board management solution. And simply, we help and allow folks to create, manage, and publish board-related documents from any type of device. Board Docs has over 2,700 subscribers in all different fields in governing and education. And Cottonwood School District there, as part of ASBA, is one of over 50 subscribers in the state of Arizona. We have over 98% subscriber retention. And a big reason for that is our reliability with the 5 nines you see down there. From a technical standpoint, that means that we rarely have our system go down, and keeps reliability for those important moments when you're creating agendas. 24/7 support. Cool analytic that I love to share is that 9 out of 10 times you call into Board Docs, you're going to get a live person on the phone. 97% of the time. 80% of the time, you're gonna get that issue or question answered and fixed on that call. So the experience of being a subscriber of Board Docs is great, and I know Trish is going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Great, Tricia, I know this is your time. Tell us a little bit about Cottonwood Oak Creek Schools.
Well, we're a rural small school district located in central Arizona, and we're about 17 miles west of Sedona, if anybody knows where that is, where the beautiful Red Rocks are. Like I said, we're a pre-K-8 district with about 2,100 schools, or 2,100 students, excuse me. We really pride ourselves on options and opportunities for families because there's a lot of competition in our area with charter schools that have opened. We have 5 schools, and we have a pre-K2, a 3rd, 5th, a 6th, 8th, and then we have our 2 specialty schools, which are our Oak Creek Elementary is a STEAM school, and it's located out in the middle of Cornville, right on the creek, and a lot of the focus there is on agriculture. And then Mountain View Preparatory is our K-8 IB school. As you can see, we have a pretty high poverty level in our district with the 73% free and reduced rate. Our special needs students and our ELL students are pretty comparable to a lot of other districts throughout the state of Arizona. And we're representative of 12 languages spoken in our district.
That's excellent. Beautiful country that you live there. It is beautiful and great information. Love to hear that. Well, great. So, Tricia, it's been a few years now since you've been with Board Docs, but you guys have recently upgraded the Pro Plus. Why don't you tell the attendees about some of your goals with Board Docs and some of those recent advancements you've made as well?
Well, our district came on board with Board Docs when it was fairly new, and I think it was probably right around 2007, and we were one of the first districts in Arizona to sign on. Since there's been multiple versions and upgrades, our district has upgraded through the years, and last year in November adopted Board Docs Pro Plus. Primarily because of the ability for us to have multiple committees that could be used through Board Docs. We've done a really exciting thing this previous year, tying our district's strategic planning plan to that, and creating a repository for everything where people can locate all our documents and things for our strategic plan. And really just being able to provide additional transparency for the community, for staff, and for parents.
That's excellent. I have to say, watching Tricia use the system and her feedback, it's really amazing the best practices that they use. So be excited to get into that. So Board Docs has a few solutions for folks that are new to Board Docs. We have a Board Docs LT, which is really your baseline solution that allows you that agenda creation tool, a policy tool, a creation tool, as well as a minutes tool, and making all of this information searchable. And then there's Board Docs Pro. And Board Docs Pro takes all of those LT features and also adds the ability to have an agenda workflow, electronic workflow, which is a great efficiency tool within the district for approving and signing off on items. And then a live meeting management tool, or live minutes, which Tricia will show today, voting tool, so an actual voting solution that's within Pro, goals, goal tracking, which is that piece that Tricia alluded to around the advancement of the district strategic plan, an excellent goal tracking or tracking in general tool that comes with that. And then the plus is the ability to add multiple committees and meeting bodies with separate and secure locations. And Tricia will talk about that here in a little bit as well. So great. So Tricia, why don't we talk about some of those top benefits you've seen that you can reiterate here to the attendees about using Board Docs?
Well, our district vision and mission statement is really about preparing students for the 21st century through tradition, experience, innovation, and opportunities. And so our board adopted using Board Docs to be able to provide better transparency for the public, but also to bring in that key piece of technology in our district, and felt that that should be modeled from the board down. And because we are a district that's accredited through Advanced Ed, we thought that by taking this to the next level with the committees, we would be able to create a search repository with our critical artifacts and documents for the entire district, where when they come in and do our accreditation visits, the team would be able to locate things rather easily.
That's great. So a couple things I'm just showing everyone right now as you're talking, Tricia, here, as you can see. I just went to our search capability. So Board Docs has the most comprehensive search tool. I just typed in the word award. It's going to search across our database through minutes, agendas, attachments, goals, you name it. You can see here there's several different ways to find information. So if I went here to this attachment, it brings up this specific attachment. I can use all the best of the Adobe features to print and so forth, but this is a cool feature. So not only have I found my search term in an attachment, but now I can click the Navigate There button, and it will redirect me to the agenda, the meeting, and the specific item details in which this specific attachment was discussed. So not only could I look at the attachment, look at any of the details within, but then I can go through the rest of the meeting if I was interested to. I could go back to the search term, or I could click on the goals, and which we'll talk about here in just a little bit as well.
And Tom,
so you mentioned, yeah, please.
I might add that this is a great feature, especially if you're in the middle of a meeting and the board has a question about something, about maybe when it took place or what the item was that was talked about. It's really easy for the moderator to move between the meeting screens to get to those things quickly to answer questions in a board meeting. Whereas, you know, it may, without this feature, you'd have to go and like research it and then bring it back to a future meeting.
Absolutely. We allow better governance, right? And that's one of the things you had mentioned. I'm just typing in the word action for this specific meeting. So if I wanted to look up that term, I could click on an item that has that term. I can see any of the information. There's specific content. There's also the motion and vote. So one of the great things about Pro is the ability to take motions and votes, but also have that information available right away as soon as it's recorded. So it's your action minutes and your annotated minutes, one of the things we'll talk about here when we get to the minutes piece. And when I'm finished, I simply click the X button and I'm back to my agenda. If I want to go back to the search here to search greater than just that meeting, I can search across the minutes, the library, and even attachments like we just talked about. Great, excellent. Tricia, one of the things you mentioned, you were alluding to, was the committees, and one of those committees is the Blueprint for Continuous Advancement, right? We've got all of your committees up here, but you can choose from those. And that was one of the pieces you were talking about, correct?
Correct.
All right, so take us through this. If I go to this specific meeting, I've got some information up here that tells me a little bit about this board, correct?
Correct.
And then I'm able to go into view the agenda, print the agenda. If there's minutes available, I could click on minutes. We also have a video solution. So if you're streaming, you'd be able to click on streaming as well. So I'll click on view an agenda. Why don't you take us through this specific board? I know there was some pieces of this board you wanted to bring to our attention.
Well, as you'll see, the first couple of items that we have there, 101, 102, and 103, were our previous year blueprint plans. And these are basically the engine that drive how we do business in our district and how we gear student instruction. And so in years past, these meetings would take weeks of planning to put together. Lots of meetings. We would put things on flash drives, we would put things on floppy disks, and we'd have multiple sources of paper all over the place across the board. And this past year, when we adopted the Pro Plus version, we decided that this would be a great opportunity for us to see how it would work with this committee. And so we rolled it out district-wide for everyone in our Blueprint for Continuous Advancement. And this past year, we used a book called Simply Better. So if you see item 1.06 that's highlighted there, we actually created a PowerPoint off that book, and then we were able to put our documents in there. We have our Elliott reference guide, which is the next item down.
I was just looking at that attachment. Perfect. Here we go.
And like our Elliott reference guide, we really wanted to familiarize our teachers with how this tool works and get them in the practice of using this in the classroom, because this is giving us a glimpse of what instruction looks like in a classroom setting. And that was one of the things we were working on in our advanced ed continuous improvement goals. So by breaking those things out and putting those items in there, there really is no question for anyone on this committee that they didn't get the information, or they couldn't find it, or it's all in one place to find everything that we need.
So it's transparency plus accountability, right?
Correct. And it created maximized efficiency through our planning process and through our meeting process. Our meetings usually, for the blueprint meeting itself, would usually take an entire day, and it cut our time this year down to 4 hours, and everyone was ready to leave by noon, and all the information was gathered, and it made it so much easier.
Wow, so cutting more than half of everyone's time back to do other things that are important within the district.
Correct.
That's great. That's wonderful. Great use of the tool. And again, this is the Plus tool. If I click on the icon over here, I can get to my other meeting bodies. So we have several other meeting bodies that are being used, from task force, and different task force, from the LA to the math. So secretary meetings. So a wonderful use. Basically, you're taking this and saying, hey, you can use it for meeting bodies, you can use it for meetings, but you can also use it for internal meetings as well to help track and organize, correct?
That's correct. And as I had indicated, you know, our board had previously adopted this and was using it. And when we looked at Board Docs Pro Plus this last year, our administrative team decided that they would begin modeling it in the district just to see how it worked for them, so that we could push it out to other committees. So Tom, if you'll go to that meeting tab there, you don't see the admin meeting in that right-hand tab there, the meeting tab, because that's a private.
Oh, right.
We're actually able to establish who the members on that committee are. They each have a username and password, and those meetings are private. And so only the people with access to that committee can use that.
That's great. So everyone understands what that meant, is that I'm not logged in. I'm on a browser, and I'm a member of the public. So basically, I have access to whatever is public facing. And what Tricia says here is that there is a meeting out there, or a meeting body out there, that is private. So you can actually mark it private, and make it available only for internal use. Excellent. Great. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for taking us through that. Those are some amazing benefits, and the way you're using it is truly a best practice that I know so many other Board Docs subscribers that see this will definitely, if they can, want to adopt. So talking about adoption, we'll move on here to, you've really felt that your administrative team, you provided them a model to be able to really adopt new technology. And we're going to talk about strategic goals and some things, but why don't you start there, Tricia? What do you mean by that?
Well, we're really fortunate in our district. We're technology rich, and I know that's not the case in a lot of districts, but for a rural community, we are. And so, like I had stated before, our board felt that they have the duty to model using technology because that is part of our vision and mission. But then when we brought on Pro Plus, the administrative team, tasked themselves with beginning to use Board Docs for their meetings. And then, through that ongoing use, they wanted to make sure that it was being used at our different committees and different meeting levels throughout the district. And so in the spring of last year, we brought on our budget committee. So if you want to click on that tab again, Tom, you can show people where we actually had our budget committee meetings. And those started in the spring of 2017. So we had our PowerPoints on there. We had budgets and things like that, financial reports, and it's all public. So it provides greater transparency for the public to see what's taking place. So we really try to operate on a no surprises rule.
That's great. Everything is available. Here's a document going over some of the maintenance operations. When I'm done with the document, I can just click back over. That's fantastic. So really utilizing it district-wide. I know the last bullet you had there was around your strategic plan, and specifically how the goal tracking has been helpful with that. If right here on this specific item, I can see here that there's some content, there's attachments, but there's also goals. So if I were to click on one of these goals, it's going to navigate me to the library where this goal lives. And this is under your specific category, governing board structural goals. And as the public can see, there's several different categories, also including the blueprint for continuous improvement, right? The academic achievement goals. Tell us a little bit about this goal section and how you utilize it.
Well, we utilize it at every one of our board meetings. So each of our board agenda items are tied to that. And that helps us track how we're meeting those blueprint for continuous advancement goals and our board goals. And then we also use it to print out reports for our board when they do their evaluation at the end of the year. So they look at that information and it gives them kind of an idea of what progress has been made on those kind of things, and it gives them an opportunity to have a kind of a quick glance at what they've covered throughout the year.
So Tricia, I'll just stop real quick and show. I just clicked on the print button. Here's that goal progress report. I can see all that same information and be able to print it. Also, if Tricia just wanted to send a link, as I scroll over the share button, I can actually share this to anybody, either by taking the link itself or to Facebook, to Twitter, if you want to enable that, to the public. And I can also send it via my email as well. So Tricia, specifically on this blueprint for continuous improvement, you've got 5 different strategies. So within this strategy, you're using the content section to put information in, and it's got some great content. And then below that, you actually have the goal progress. So it shows that you started tracking the progress of this goal since August 2nd. And it's been in several different meetings with items. And I can see here just a quick snapshot, specifically the title, if any action has occurred, what type it is, and then what the result might be. In this case, the motion failed. And if I wanted to, I can click on this link and it will again navigate me to that specific agenda item, or if it was part of a policy, whatever it might be, it would take me to that meeting body, etc., and allow me to see more information specifically about that meeting and that specific item. Did I cover that right?
Correct.
Great, excellent. So talk about, one of the big things we hear is audit accreditation from many districts. How important is the Board Docs solution, specifically the goals and meeting bodies tool, to your accreditation process?
Well, in years past, we've presented the accreditation team with binders and binders and binders of documents, and they've gone towards looking at solutions that are more technology based, and they do provide us with some goal tracking and some places to put documents into their system. But we felt that by utilizing Board Docs, when our accreditation visit rolls around again, this really could become like that big repository, giving them access to all the information and really, looking at how we're meeting those goals in our district.
That's great. And while you were talking about that, I just searched the word classroom within this library, and it came up every time the word classroom was discussed. I could find more information. You also have a general library in which you can put information. And again, we might not see everything that's in here. I'm only have public access, so you might have private documents. I know a lot of folks, best practice, use the library to post internal budget information, strategic information that's not ready for the public to see yet, and that can be made private, but still you're able to organize and manage it internally. Great. Well, excellent. Tricia, thanks so much. This is a great view into how you're using Board Docs, especially at the goal tracking and accreditation area, and around the strategic plan as well. Excellent. Let's go ahead and keep moving here. So the last item before we get to the support piece is around meeting management. You have some ideas here that you specifically have been affected by the efficiency of this by using the Live Minutes tool, but the board members have as well. Tell us about that experience.
Well, our board members really are more informed than they were previously. They have everything right at their fingertips, from past meetings, to current time in the live meetings. They can also use the feature within Board Docs to make notations, annotations in an agenda if they want to, mark on their agenda. It's just really easy and quick access to materials.
Yeah,
and
I'm showing folks right now as you're talking about that, where you can actually put notes in. Sorry, go ahead, Tricia.
And I think we've really done a good job of creating a system-wide approach to how we're using technology in the district. Really just, being in the public eye and being transparent and, showing that our district is vested in technology from the board on down.
Absolutely. That's great. And here I'm just showing as a board member, I'm able to take notes. I can delete notes, keep notes. All the notes are actually stored on a separate database from the meeting materials. So they are considered private notes, although it differs from state to state on what your FOIA laws are. But you do have that capability to keep private notes. And then once I build a note, it highlights it in yellow over here in the right-hand corner. So as a board member, I know right away that if I scroll over an item and I don't see that yellow, that means I don't have a note there. So it's very, very nice to have that type of feature. Now, one of the things that really benefits you, Tricia, is when we get into the live meeting management, right? So if we were to take this specific meeting and click the Launch Meeting Control Panel, that's something you would do the day of the meeting. Take us through how you use the Board Docs live meeting tool for minutes.
Well, it's really easy. I just go up to Start Meeting. And then it brings up a screen where I can confirm my board members that are present.
Great. We'll say Sarah's not here today, and we'll save it. So in the background, just so everyone knows, what we're doing is the system itself is now creating a minutes document, and it's taking this agenda template and has made it into a minutes document.
And then I click on the scoreboard, and we actually use the scoreboard in our meetings.
Yeah.
And this
So the
creates,
scoreboard.
oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Tricia.
This
Go ahead.
creates a public interface during the meeting. So this is projected up on a separate screen in our boardroom, and they have live minute-by-minute coverage of what item we're on, and if it was an action item, what that vote looked like.
Yeah, it's fantastic for both the board to see live during the meeting, just as a glance, and then also the public as well. And it does highlight the item we're on, and as Tricia mentioned, it's motions, votes, who did what, and then the proceeding items as well. So Tricia, let's take an item here. Let's take an actionable item. Here on the left, you've got the subject. You can always change that midstream if you needed to. You could also change the agenda type midstream if you needed to. So you have all the controls, and then you could put in whatever might have been said. So if you're taking some notes, those notes would go here in the action item area, and then you have access to all the content. So if there's any supporting documents or anything in here that you want to see, you can do that. But we can simply click on a motion. I've had a few motions and votes on this item, so I would simply click Add Motion, and it pulls over that recommended action, right, Tricia? So you don't have to retype what that motion's going to be unless there's a change to it.
Correct. And when that motion
Great.
appears there, if there is a slight change, you can just go in and type in and make that change. And I will often use the content tab as well, and will often copy and paste from the content tab into my summary and comments.
Oh, great. That's smart. That's a great best practice. So if I come down here, let's just say the mover and the seconder, right? And then I can take the vote. So how do you do this? Do you use that mark unanimous feature?
I do. And then if there's an abstain or someone that's not present at the vote, I just go in and change it like you just did.
Wonderful. So if these two people said no, great. And then you can simply just mark this as your final resolution and save it. And then you'll notice here that I'm actually in a consent item. So if there were several items in here, it would say, hey, what you're about to do is going to mark approved for all of these consent items. Is that okay? So there's typically a lot of different alerts that just make sure you're on path with what you're trying to do. Great. Excellent. And then if you wanted to use this as a voting solution, you actually could. So again, the voting solutions can cost tens of thousands of dollars, hardware, all that. With Board Docs, it's built into the solution. So it actually communicates with your board members' devices. So if I click online voting, you'll notice here that if I go over to the board member view, it actually stopped me wherever I'm at, and then it grays out, and then in the front it says, hey, cast your vote on this item. It'll also tell me what that recommended motion is as well, and then I could go ahead and vote. And you'll notice here in big blue it says, hey, you voted. If you want to change your vote over here in red, you can change it at any time or until Tricia actually closes the vote. So if Tricia said everyone else voted yay, she would close the vote and mark that as the final resolution possibly and save it. So another great opportunity for more efficiency live during the meeting. Excellent. Tricia, anything else on the minutes that you wanted to cover? I know from here you're able to take the minutes and then post those. Anything else you wanted to mention?
Well, I think that as you touched on using efficient use of time, I think our meetings flow a lot smoother than some of them in our area, because I've heard that other schools and districts have meetings that go, for hours and hours and hours into the night. And a lot of times our meetings won't run more than an hour. And when they do, it's usually no more than an hour and a half. And so I think it provides a great opportunity for our board to move through the meeting quickly and cover the items and keep everybody on track without getting on those bunny trails that they sometimes go down.
And that's great. And I know you mentioned to me that that's improved since using Board Docs. Your time is you've gained even more time back just because of the system itself helps with that flow.
Correct.
Excellent. Well, lots of great stuff. And Tricia, you and I could probably spend the whole day going through some of these best practices. So folks, for time purposes, we'll move on. But of course, if there's any questions, post webinar, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to show you a personal demo or talk to Tricia, whatever it might be. But Tricia, why don't we finish things up here with the webinar, talking about your support and guidance, really the Board Docs experience that you've had when it comes to support and implementation.
The support has been phenomenal. In my 5 years now of using Board Docs, I think I've only had to call support 1 or 2 times, and I always get somebody right away. And it's usually been an issue on my end. I think a couple of times it was the server I was using or the browser I was using. Really not a problem in the product, but more of just user error on my end.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, we're glad that we can be there for you. As I mentioned, that 24/7 support is 24/7. 97% of the time, you get a live person on the line. And I love your third one. You get what you pay for, right?
That's true. My board charged me about 2 years ago with researching a lot of the different, board solutions out there. And it really came down to us, there is a little bit of a cost, and we are a small district, but we took into consideration through using Board Docs, all of the efficiencies we've managed to consider, using that product. It really comes down to you get what you pay for in product and service and support.
That's great. Speaking on this line, there's a couple questions that came in, so I figured we might be able to answer them here with a few minutes. The question came in is, how difficult is it for a new board member to pick up this program?
They pick it up pretty quickly, and Board Docs does offer, training and free support for that. We've had them come out and train our admin team when we implemented it with our admin team, and I think they spent like 2 hours with us. But I have actually been able to go in and work with my new board members fairly simply and show them how to get in. And once they're in, they can navigate through it really easily. That's
great. That's awesome. Well, great stuff. Well, Tricia, thank you so much. As always, it's a pleasure talking to you. You keep innovating not only what your district does, but the innovation of how you use Board Docs and those best practices to our subscriber community is fantastic. So thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If there's any questions, folks, we have up here right now the emails. It's Tricia's email address. We also have an email up here for Tracy Benson for the ASBA. And then, of course, if you have any questions at all, you want to see anything more of a personal level through Board Docs, we have Cheryl Dombey's address here as well. You can request a demo through her, and she'd be more than happy to give you more of a personal view. Take some time to get to know what you're doing at your district and see if there's a fit by using Board Docs. Well, great. Well, we appreciate everyone's time. A big thanks to the Arizona School Board Association for being part of this. We've had a very short, over, I guess, a year and a half partnership, but an amazing partnership in that time. So a great thanks to them for all that they do. And of course, a big thanks to Cottonwood Oak Creek School District. And Tricia, thank you again for your time today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Wonderful, everyone. Well, until next time, we appreciate it. Please join us again for another Board Docs subscriber-led webinar series. And thank you all the attendees for joining today. We look forward to talking to you in the future. Have a wonderful day.